Welcome back to BZen TV. I'm your host, Britt Madrid Mogensen, and in this episode, we are talking about the new year. So a happy new year, everybody. I hope that you guys got 2025 started off right. And if you haven't, we are going to turn that around because we've got a great show for you tonight. So first, we are going to be talking about ADHD, something that many of us, myself included, suffer from, and it gets a negative stigma. I saw Paris Hilton talking about her ADHD and how she's learned to turn this into her superpower, which led me down a rabbit hole, which resulted in me finding Tracy Otsuka, our first guest, who is an ADHD expert, author, lawyer, podcast host. She does it all. And she's going to talk to us about proven strategies to help manage ADHD. So if you are one of those people that feels like you just can't ever quite get it together, guilty, 2025 is our year. So Tracy's going to talk to us about what we can do, how to understand our brains better, and turn what we previously looked at as a weakness into a superpower. Then we are going to talk about mindset, the winter blues. This is something that typically peaks in January when the days are short, it's cold, it can be a little gray, the holiday season fun is over. Well, if you're worried that your mood is going to drop along with the temperature, don't worry, because we have a solution for you. We're going to talk about the proven psychological benefits of doing things like volunteering, how you can naturally boost those feel-good chemicals so that you can stay your happiest, healthiest self as we kick off the new year. And then we are going to talk about numerology. Yes, we are talking about the universal year 9 energy that is going to permeate 2025, what that even means for you, some tips, and a few predictions to see what's coming in the new year. So don't miss that. All right, we've got a lot to talk about. It's going to be so much fun. So let's get into it. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also called ADHD, is often misunderstood, especially in women as we get older. Our symptoms can sometimes change, present differently, and there are ways to turn these perceived flaws into a superpower. So our next guest, Tracy Otsuka, is a leading ADHD coach, podcast host, and fierce advocate for women with ADHD. Through her hit podcast, ADHD for Smartass Women, and her incredible coaching work, Tracy empowers countless people to better understand their brains and thrive in life. Today, Tracy's here to share practical ADHD tips that can help you unlock your potential and harness the power of your unique mind. Whether you've been diagnosed with ADHD or just want to optimize your focus and productivity, this is an interview you won't want to miss. So Tracy Otsuka, thank you so much for being here. I am thrilled to talk about your book, ADHD for Smartass Women, How to Fall in Love with Your Neurodivergent Brain. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
For everyone who is watching or listening like me who is neurodivergent, I have both ADHD and dyscalculia, which you talk about in the book as well. This book has so many strategies, and I'd love for us to kind of start at the basics and how we can do that in a way that is helpful for, our fellow ADHDers or neurodivergent friends.
I think that probably the most important thing to know is that ADHD in my book is not a disorder. There is a study, it's actually quite a large study out of Canada that was done in 2022. And what they discovered is that 43% of people with ADHD are in excellent mental health. I didn't say okay mental health. I didn't say good mental health. I said excellent mental health. So my big question is always, why have I heard no other clinicians or professionals or even ADHD coaches talking about that study? If we believe that our brain is disordered, we are going to act as if our brain is disordered. And I mean, how is that going to help anyone?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's not disordered. It's just a different brain that works with a different operating system. And I think for women, it's so important that we talk about this because 75% of women are not diagnosed. They don't even know they have ADHD. And women tend to have 2 times the rate of inattention than men do. And so what we do is we internalize our symptoms. We're not annoying. We're not disruptive. We're not climbing the walls. We're not getting in trouble at school. No, if you have predominantly the inattentive presentation of ADHD, you are a good girl. And so what ends up happening is we get diagnosed with anxiety and depression instead of ADHD and
Yes.
medicated for, for these, mental health challenges. And sometimes it's anxiety, depression, and ADHD, but often it's ADHD that underlies the anxiety and depression. And so if you treat the ADHD, you also treat the anxiety and the depression. So why is this important? Because 24% of women diagnosed with ADHD have attempted suicide. That is 8 times higher than the general female population, 3 times higher than men with ADHD. And a lot of this is because of gender roles, social stereotypes, sexism, just this idea that because we're girls, we're supposed to be better at all of this organization stuff. Handling the social structures and being the social secretary, handling the kids, all of these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, we can say, oh, it's ADHD, whatever, it's no big deal, but it really is for women. And so once they understand what it is, they understand that it's ADHD and it's just a different brain and how to work with it, literally their lives are changed overnight. So I really, really believe in this cause, clearly.
I love it. I know you do. And I finished your book on a flight and I was just immersed the entire flight. I could not look up from it. And I was like, I feel like you know me. I feel like this gives a totally new framework for looking at your life, looking at yourself, how you approach things. And it's so empowering. It's very hopeful to learn these new strategies and just to look at yourself in a different light. Can you tell us a little bit about how our brains are wired a little bit differently?
It involves dopamine. And so when you don't have enough dopamine, you struggle with your executive functions. Executive functions are your ability to plan and schedule,
Mhm.
motivation, how you make decisions, time management, emotional regulation. So it involves a lot. There are, however, 3 telltale signs of ADHD that you don't often hear about. Number 1, unexplained underachievement. So you will meet someone and clearly they are so bright, but they haven't achieved at the level that how bright they are would indicate that they should have.
Mhm.
Number 2, consistent inconsistency. I always talk about my son when I talk about consistent inconsistency. So he was the kid who would get A's and F's in the same class in the same week. Like it just
Wow.
doesn't make sense, right?
Wow.
A teacher or a parent or a partner or a boss, they're looking at this person going, they can do this
Right.
hard thing, but they can't do the basic things like take the trash out or make sure there aren't dishes in the sink. They are doing this on purpose, and it's a character flaw and or a moral failing.
Mm.
The third
Mhm.
thing is typical tips and tricks that work for neurotypical brains don't often work for us. So what I mean is
Right.
like eat that frog, right?
Yeah.
Doing the hardest thing first thing in the morning.
Right.
I don't know
Oh my
about
gosh,
you.
Tracy, I'm dying
Yeah,
inside laughing right now because how many I mean, I can't tell you how many organizational books I've bought, how many times I've tried
yes,
to start the new planner and then next week it's gone, and that's so
absolutely. Or
funny.
you forget you even have a planner.
I think that understanding more about how we can look at our brains more as different or special or superpowers. I would love to hear more about the strengths and how we can channel it and maybe, I don't know, kick up our dopamine.
So the ADHD brain is nothing if not creative. In fact, even scientists say that ideation is our main strength.
Mhm.
And with ideation comes curiosity, right? We are the kind of people that if someone says, no, you can't do it that way, we're like, what? Why?
Mhm.
What if we did this? And what if we included that? And I think a lot of us end up as entrepreneurs, right? We're
Guilty. Yeah.
trying so hard to fit in
Mhm.
to make sure that we're not making waves. And in fact, I
Mhm.
don't believe we're meant to fit in. I believe we're meant to stand out and we're meant to lead in the area of our interests. The
Mhm.
ADHD brain is a brain of interest. It is not a brain of importance. There has to be so much intention behind it, right?
Mhm.
We have to have a real interest for whatever needs to be done, because that's what spikes our dopamine and our positive emotion. And our brains are all about positive emotion. If we feel good, we can do anything.
Oh my gosh, Tracy, you're preaching over here. I love it.
Absolutely.
You're lifting us all up right now.
Overthinking and overperforming are
Mhm.
symptoms of underfeeling, right? If
Wow.
you are always so worried about what everybody else thinks, and so because of that, you're looking for that external validation, you are only doing things to satisfy everyone else because you're so
Wow.
uncomfortable being in your body, you're in your head. What ends up happening is you stop trusting yourself and you start doing what other people are telling you to do.
Mhm.
The fastest way to start trusting yourself is to get back into your body and start following that rudder, right?
So true. So true. I feel very passionate, very excited about this show, about other things that we do, like helping
Mhm.
animals at the animal shelter, and I have a podcast. So I feel so like powered up. Then there are days where I'm like, I'm missing a deadline because I got too passionate about this one thing. And those are the things where I feel my ADHD, like the negative side of it, cause just I start to struggle. So is there a way that we can work with our brains in those times, or is it more about outsourcing? What are your thoughts on all that?
So the reason why you can't do those things, Brittany, is
Mhm.
because you're so brilliant at the other things.
Right. Yes.
Nobody lives to their full potential through their weaknesses. We live to our full potential through our strengths. Outsource as much as you can, but I understand that you can't always outsource everything. The key, though, is to stop beating yourself up about it, right? Because is beating yourself up about it allowing you to feel more positive emotion or more negative emotion?
More negative.
Okay. And when
Yes.
we're in negative emotion, what happens to us?
No energy. For me, it's like zero energy. I just
Yeah,
power down when I need to be powering up.
exactly.
Mm.
And so the real goal is that you are constantly looking for ways to feel better because you know that when you feel better, you have more energy. So, what are some of the things that you can do to kind of pop that dopamine that are actually healthy and that work for you? At the top of my list is gratitude,
Love it.
mindset,
Mhm.
exercise. I can't take medication. I get more negative symptoms than positive symptoms. It just
Okay.
jacks up my anxiety.
Oh, mhm.
The deal with exercise is if you are at 70% of your max heart rate for only 20 minutes, that is literally as good as a dose of Adderall for the ADHD and Prozac
Wow, that's
for mood.
amazing.
Yeah.
Tracy, that's
So,
amazing. When I read that in your book, I felt so much better because for me, when I get overwhelmed, the first thing that I start to cut out are the things that you have to keep, right? That's sleep,
yeah,
and I'll cut out my morning workout. And then what I found is that things start to get worse and worse. So after reading your book, it reminded me just keep prioritizing that. Like
yeah.
don't let that slip anymore. So
And
that really helped me, Tracy. Oh, I love that.
so it's
Okay.
always positive emotion. Okay, so let's say you worked out, you feel
Okay.
as good as you can feel, you sit at your desk and you're like,
Mhm. Here we
you
go. The Soul
what do
Cycle
we
high is
know?
wearing off.
It's always about positive emotion. It's always about that
Mhm.
good dopamine. Okay. What we know about our brains is there are three things that pop it, that help us. Can you somehow make it fun, challenging, or social? For me, I'm always like trying to beat the clock.
Okay.
If I did it 20 minutes last time, I'm trying to do it 15 minutes this time. Social would be like I don't know, would meet a friend and she's working on her stuff and you're working on your stuff. But my biggest hack, and it seems to work for everybody that I've ever worked with, is this. It's called a time cube, and let me tell you why this works. The problem we're having with starting is the friction. It's we're in our head and we are procrastinating because of the
Yes.
emotion, the
Yes.
feeling of having to start. So, what I do is I tell myself, you can do anything for 25 minutes. If after 25 minutes you want to quit, you may quit. And so, can you see this? So all
I
you
see.
do, you don't have to set anything. You just turn it on its end and it starts going down. But it
I
works.
really like that because it's also like that challenge part too, where you're
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm just going to do it for that long. That's it.
exactly.
So, okay, so those are great tips. Would you mind giving us a couple of tips for nutrition and sleep?
Absolutely. So all of the things that we said about exercise apply to sleep. So, REM sleep, sleep in general, it increases your dopamine, it improves your executive functions. Probably the best part of sleep is it's like free therapy. It
Oh,
really helps with emotional regulation.
oh,
So,
nice.
once I was able to start seeing it like that, especially the free therapy part,
Yeah.
that made me more likely to get in bed.
Mhm.
You asked about nutrition. So, when we improve our nutrition, we improve the health and function of our brain. So everything that you've heard and read about, leafy greens, fish, protein, all of that is true for the ADHD brain. What you want is you want omega-3 fatty acids that are high in both EPA and DHAs. What they discovered is it reduces brain inflammation, it helps with focus, it helps with memory and learning, and it really helps with mood. And
Okay.
so, what I decided is okay, I'm going to try this. I put together a spreadsheet and I started to track how I felt every
Wow.
single day. Because one of the other things about our ADHD brains is we can struggle with working memory. I could tell I was feeling better. And it
Wow.
was within the first week. So it's not about listening to what everybody else is telling you you should or shouldn't do. You
Mhm.
really need to try it, whatever it is, and then get into your body and ask yourself, am I actually feeling better when I do X, Y, or Z? Same thing with drinking water. 75% of us
Interesting.
are literally walking around chronically dehydrated, and our poor little shrunken brains are just sad, right?
We need all the
Uh,
help we can get already. It's like, that's I got this to make it cute. Sometimes we feel all this pressure. And so maybe we're the ones that neglect ourselves even more. I know for me, my health and all of that, I used to put that at the bottom of my list. So we're like the very people that really need that self care.
yes.
If we can challenge ourselves in 2025 to reframe the way we think about ourselves, I think it would be so helpful.
The thing is, Brittany, don't put a whole list together. Start
Mhm.
with one thing because you know how we were talking about how we don't trust ourselves? So
Mhm.
start with something so simple like, I'm going to drink a glass of water every morning when I wake up. What you are actually teaching yourself is that you are trustworthy. And if you have an intention that is important to you, that you are going to do it. And then once you can prove to yourself that I could do this, well, then why can't I do the next thing?
I love that. That is so amazing and beautiful. And it makes it something doable that we can, hold on to and continue to build that new positive emotion about ourselves, which I think is lovely.
Yeah.
Tracy, before you go, will you leave us with something that you wish more people with ADHD knew about themselves, something about their superpowers?
Absolutely. I have never met an ADHD woman who wasn't truly brilliant at something. And I'm not just saying this. I have met thousands of ADHD women at this point, and I am telling you, even the ones who have struggled consistently, you are blown away with how much they've actually accomplished, even though they don't see it, because all they can see are the things they couldn't do. They are the most interesting, impactful, empathetic people that I've ever met. It's super important for us, especially, to figure out who we are, what's important to us, what do we value, what are we passionate about, where at least is the neighborhood of our purpose, because we are mission driven people. We need to do work where we feel like we are making a difference.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So beautiful. And please tell everybody, Tracy, where they can find your book, listen to your podcast.
So, my podcast is called ADHD for Smartass Women. You can go to my website, which is ADHD for smartwomen.com. We struggle with Google every time we use that 3-letter word. This month, January, I am going to be running my 3 days to fall in love with your ADHD brain training. And you can find all the information that you want to find out about that on my website.
We will put that QR code up on screen also, so people can just
Thank you.
use that. Thank you so much, Tracy. I really appreciate you joining us, and I feel so excited about the new year with all of your tips.
It was such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Let's talk about the winter blues, because it's hard to feel good and be our best selves when we are feeling a little bit low this time of year. So there's something called SAD, seasonal affective disorder. You may have heard of it. It's also known as the winter blues. I think we all experience it one way or another, just based on the way that our bodies operate with the circadian rhythm, the dark and the light, all these changes that just kind of culminate right around this time of year, including an end to the festivities. It's just a lot. There's a lot of energy. So we are kind of in the aftermath of the holiday season. So let's talk about a couple of things that happen around this time of year. So low mood, lack of energy, feelings of despair, which tend to be more common and severe when there is less sunlight. So this time of year can exacerbate a lot of different things that can be going on with our mood. In the US, about 5% of adults experience debilitating symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, while up to 20% of Americans report milder forms of seasonal mood changes, according to the American Psychiatric Association. So if you're feeling a little blue, you're not alone. It happens. I know that I've dealt with this several times, and I have a solution for you guys, an easy, free of charge solution. So did you know that giving back can actually be the best gift that you give to yourself? Well, research shows that volunteering doesn't just help others, it can significantly boost your own mood and mental health. And if you're looking for a feel-good 2-for-1 deal, volunteering with animals can be even more impactful. So first of all, when you volunteer, your brain releases both dopamine and endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that people talk about when they get like a runner's high, or maybe even, buy something at the store, or a myriad of things can boost these feel-good chemicals. But the same chemicals that are responsible for these good feelings, these boosts of positivity, also are triggered when you help out at places like an animal shelter or a soup kitchen. So fostering an animal or helping with pet adoptions, these activities in particular can provide a sense of purpose, reduce stress, and even lower anxiety and depression due to the link that human beings and animals have, where there is a natural component of our biology that is positively impacted by helping dogs and vice versa. So it's not just about volunteering. If you're thinking about adopting or fostering a pet, the benefits go even deeper. Studies show that having a pet can lower blood pressure, combat loneliness, and help you stay active. I know that's true for me. If anybody out there is trying to be more active or even drop a few post-holiday pounds, running with a dog is going to keep you consistent because you got a built-in workout buddy and you're getting that cardio in. So highly recommend for a variety of reasons. I can personally say that fostering changed my life. More joy, more love, a routine that I was forced to stick to. All of these things had a net positive outcome for me, and certainly for the dog as well, who needed a place to go. The shelters are still just jam-packed. And of course, we love Dallas Animal Services. But if you guys are watching this from different parts of the country or even different countries, I know we have some international friends out there, be sure that you check with your local shelter and see what you can do to volunteer. This is going to help you out. It's going to give your brain a boost and help you start 2025 off on a positive note. Also, speaking of giving, let's talk about 2025 in our numerology segment, brought to you by my Astrology and Pop Culture podcast, In the Cards and Stars. So the reason that I said speaking of doing good is because 2025 is a universal 9 energy year in numerology. And the way that you get that is by adding up the 2, 0, 2, and 5, and you get 9, right? Simple as that. So that gives us the universal year energy. And 9 is actually the number that is associated with humanitarianism, helping, community. So the more that we engage in those types of activities, activities, the more that we help people in our community, this is a year that can help you with good karma in return. So if you've ever been wanting to get out of your shell a little bit, connect with people in your community, 2025 really is the year to do that. So let's talk about a couple of other tips that you can use to make 2025 an amazing year. So based on the vibration of the number 9 in numerology, this is an important year to focus on themes like creativity, giving back, like I said, your emotions, your connections with the greater community, making sure that you make forgiveness and love and generosity really core components to this year. Of course, every year we want to be living that way, but 2025 is a very important time to make sure that we're tuning into that. Anytime you feel like you want to push forward or you become too impatient, because the number 9 is also associated with Mars, this could be a signal for disaster. So patience is going to be important this year. Community, connection, friendships, all of these are really important themes for 2025. This is also a year where we are preparing for 2026, which is a one personal year. And according to numerology, a one personal year is a fresh start. So expect for this year to be a little bit more of the same for my pop culture predictions, a little bit more of the same. I don't think that we're going to have anything too crazy changing what we're doing right now. I think it's going to be more of what we've already been experiencing at the end of 2024, because the number 9 really just helps us tie up loose ends. So this is a really good year for planning, making a little manifestation board, absolutely important at this time of year. Also, being sure that we are just organized and right with everything that we need to take care of in our lives, because next year in 2026, a lot is going to be happening. A lot is going to be changing. There will be some really exciting fresh starts. I think some changes in fashion and music and a lot to look forward to. So you're going to want to be ready. You're going to want to be prepared. So this is kind of our year to connect with others, give back, be generous. This is kind of a year of feels and creativity. So enjoy that, lean into it, pick up an old hobby if you've been wanting to, like let's say you put down painting a while ago. 2025 is the year to pick it back up. So be sure that you align yourself with the nice, steady, truly zen pace of the year. And in 2026, we're going to have a totally different report for you guys, where we're going to just be ready to blast off with all kinds of new changes. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the show all year. If you guys want to stay connected, be sure that you follow me on social media. All of the information is right there with the QR codes. And if you guys want more astrology, numerology, pop culture, tarot, we have it all over on my podcast, In the Cards and Stars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, YouTube, where I like to post a lot of videos, including clips from this show. All right, you guys have an amazing start to the year. Be sure that you stay connected. Let me know your feedback, what you'd like to see more of in 2025. You know, we always have ideas here, but I'd love to hear from you and see what issues you guys are facing that we can talk to some experts about to help us fix those issues. Okay, let's do it together. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in an all new episode at the beginning of next month.